Good morning, C-Home. Today we want to go over one of our safety protocols, the lockdown protocol. Please listen carefully to the following instructions. After this PowerPoint, you will see a short video that walks you through the lockdown, and then we will have a question and answer time with Russ Robinson, the District Safety Director. We have adopted some new safety protocols that have been created by an organization called the I Love You Guys Foundation. This foundation has taken recommendations from the Sandy Hook Commission, a comprehensive report on school safety. While we never want to have to use a lockdown protocol in real life, practicing it means that we will know what to do in the case of a real threat or emergency. These safety protocols are shared by all Whatcom County schools, districts, and emergency responders. They also have simple language and instructions. Why do we use a lockdown? This is a very specific drill that will only be used if there's something dangerous inside the school. For example, a suspicious person, an active shooter, or the report of a weapon. We know that police will get to our school very quickly. We have seen this already. A lockdown gives us a time barrier to keep our school safe while the police are arriving and dealing with the threat. From all the research that has been done on school shootings, we know that a locked classroom door is the most effective and proven time barrier against a threat. Over the intercom, you will hear the following announcement. Lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight. This will be repeated. When you hear this, your action is to get behind a locked door, get out of sight, turn off the lights, and be quiet. This includes silencing your technology. So students, what's your next step? Your first step is to get out of sight. After the doors have been shut and locked, do not open the door. Stay out of sight of the corridor and door windows. If you can see out of the room, people can see in. Stay silent. That means silence your phones. Again, do not open the door for anyone. Staff, your job is to get your students and yourself out of sight. Close and lock the classroom door, turn out the lights, stay silent, and then take attendance and write down the time. So this is a new part of the lockdown protocol. What we know about school emergency events is that they create a lot of traffic on the cell towers, and these cell towers can likely crash. The goal of this part of the protocol is to help in this kind of a situation so everyone's not filling up the cell tower waves with texting and phone calls. Emergency responders and others who support a school emergency will need to have access to these towers for as long as possible. So here's how it works. After a lockdown is called, and when it's safe to do so, teachers will instruct 5 students at a time to pull out their cell phones and text their families an update. Afterwards, those 5 students will turn off their phones. Then, the next 5 students will text their families and then turn off their phones. This protocol will happen every 5 minutes for as long as possible. Teachers will lead students through this protocol in the event of a real emergency. For the drill on Friday, we will not be texting during the lockdown, but it's important to know what is expected if we do go into a real lockdown. What happens when we're all in a lockdown? Well, whenever a lockdown is called, emergency responders are mobilized. That means they drop everything and get to the school as soon as they can. We know from experience that Western police will likely be the first to respond, and they can get to C-Home in about 90 seconds. That's really fast. After they arrive, their job is to stop the threat. Our job is to stay in lockdown until they determine it's safe to lift it. In the meantime, communications will come from the district office to all staff, students, and families every 15 minutes, so we all stay updated as much as possible. Here's another new part of the protocol, and this is how we get released from a protocol. In the past, you would just hear a PA over a message over the loudspeaker that said, "The lockdown is over." But this protocol is very different. So here's the important part. Only an administrator or a police will release classrooms from a lockdown. Do not open the door for anyone. Everyone who needs to open a door will have keys to do so. What will happen is the responder, the police or administrator, will knock on the door and they will announce who they are. And then they will open the door. This will be true both in a drill and in a real emergency. In a drill, the district staff that's releasing the room will tell you that the lockdown is over, but you'll need to stay in your classroom until you hear over the intercom that the lockdown protocol is over. In a real emergency, emergency responders, like police, will open your door and they will tell you what to do, where to go, how to get there, and what you can take with you. It's really important for you to follow the exact directions of the police. So we know that these kinds of events, even drills, are very unsettling and they can be triggering for students and staff, even if it's a drill. On Friday, we're going to practice this drill during anchor. We've moved anchor to between third and fourth period in the afternoon. If you need some time to decompress and get your body and mind back to a place where you can learn, you'll be able to go to the counseling office to either talk to someone or to just be quiet, maybe color, maybe read, before heading to your fourth period class. In a real emergency, if we all need to leave the school, the district office, together with the police, will implement a comprehensive reunification plan. This is where students and families will be reconnected. If we don't need to leave the school, we will make a decision about staying in school for the rest of the day. And if we do, we'll provide a space for folks to decompress, and we'll also give staff and students information about how to go about their day regarding their learning. Now, the I Love You Guys Foundation has created a video narrated by a student that shows you just what I told you. So take a minute, it's about 2 minutes long, and here it is. All right, now we have a live Q&A or question and answer time with Russ Robinson, our district safety director. I want to give a special thanks to Abby Brandon and Elliot Peterson for their work in collecting student and staff questions regarding lockdowns. So here we go.
What about lockdown?
This is serious. Pay attention because something bad is happening in the school.
Oh, things adults don't want to talk about.
First, I'm going to talk about stuff that we do know, data and research about attacks at schools. Then I'm going to talk about what to do depending on where you are. First of all, 70% of these are over within 5 minutes. 90% are over in 10 minutes.
Heavy.
First, let's look at one thing that they have learned. An attacker has hardly ever gotten through a locked classroom door. Hardly ever.
Where'd you see that?
Get on the web and look at the Sandy Hook Commission report. The FBI has some stuff too.
Lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight. Lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight.
So the teacher will lock and close the door.
Right, then what happens?
I got this. First, we're going to get out of sight of the corridor window.
What else are you gonna do?
Then we're going to get low on the floor. I'm going to make sure I can't see out of the corridor window. Then I'm going to take a deep breath and focus. This is an important 5 or 10 minutes. I'm even going to silence my phone or turn it on Do Not Disturb.
Turn off your data and Wi-Fi too. This helps the first responders keep their internet access.
But can I text my parents?
Yes, but not at first. Your teacher will probably have you wait about 5 minutes until it's safe. If it's safe, a few of you at a time can text your parents.
Here's what to text. I'm okay, we're in a lockdown, I'll update you every 5 minutes. I'm going to add this. I love you guys.
Text your parents, don't text your friends, don't post on social media. Duh. Here's one thing, a lockdown can be scary and it's probably going to last a long time. I need you to support each other, listen to your teacher. What else do you keep in mind?
Don't open the door for anyone.
What if they say it's the police? Like this, police, open the door.
I don't know if it's really the police or someone trying to fool me, so I'm not going to open the door for anybody or even say anything.
Right, law enforcement or an administrator will unlock and open the door.
Same thing with an announcement on the PA. You're going to stay here until the administrator or police comes and opens the door.
What about the fire alarm?
When we're in a lockdown, we're going to treat a fire alarm a little differently. Unless it's really a fire in the room, we're going to initially stay put. Although I might look at other ways to get outside.
If you're in the hallway, cafeteria, or gym, try to get behind a locked door or try to get out of the building. Remember, 5 minutes, so go quick. Think about other locking doors like staff bathrooms and some offices.
The student bathrooms are probably a last resort. No locking doors, but at least you can get out of sight.
Hello, CO. My name is Adria Kleins. Unfortunately, Abby could not be here today for this part, but I'll be interviewing. So a couple of years ago, C-Home went through a few lockdowns and we learned a lot from these experiences. Staff and students had questions about the logistics of where to go, how to stay safe, and how to care for each other in the midst of something that was really scary and unsettling. We are here today with Russ Robinson, our district safety coordinator, to answer some questions we have. Welcome, Russ. Thank you for being here, so let's get started.
All right.
So through this PowerPoint, we just learned about the protocol for what we do when we're in a lockdown. We know that our first action should be to get behind a locked classroom door, but what if we don't make it behind the door before the door closes and locks?
It's a great question. In the video, they talked about finding any kind of locked door. There's a lot of individual bathrooms here that have locking doors. Also, there is the option of self-evacuating, getting off campus. If you have a safe route to get to freedom, to safety, then go ahead and take it. Find ways to make yourself safe. Take some personal accountability in that, and just make sure that you're taking the appropriate actions for yourself.
Great, that sounds good. Thank you. So another question, some students and staff travel between places during the day. For example, there's Running Start students or staff who work in between two different buildings. What do they do if they arrive to school and there are emergency responders on site or a lockdown drill is taking place?
Yeah, it's a great question. Always follow the direction of any law enforcement that are on scene. Typically, there will be multiple officers here and someone will be able to direct you to either a safe spot to congregate or direct you off campus. It just depends on the situation. If you are at school and the doors aren't opening for some reason, or there's a sign posted saying we're in a lockdown drill or we're in a lockdown, obviously you don't want to enter the building. Find a place of safety for yourself.
Okay, that's good to know. And then this is kind of, well, a little bit related, but what if like our whole class is out on the sports field, or if it's like walking and hiking or something like that? What should we do if we're like off campus during that lockdown?
Stay off campus. Obviously, you don't want to come back onto campus and put yourself in any danger. We'll find a way to reconnect with you or reconnect you with your parents at a later time.
Cool, sounds good. And then I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, but are we allowed to leave if there is a lockdown? What's like the thinking behind running away from the school?
Yeah, it's definitely an option. You don't want to leave a safe space to create an unsafe situation for yourself. If you're behind a locked classroom door and you're able to keep that time barrier for you, stay there. Don't provide for an opportunity for you to be harmed. But if that's not an option for you, if you're in a space that doesn't have that option, self-evacuate, get off campus, get yourself safe.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And then what happens if a lockdown is called during lunchtime or passing period?
That's a tough one. You have a lot of students out at one time. Obviously, it's going to be really hard to get behind a locked classroom door. I think that's a great opportunity for a self-evacuation. Every situation is different, and you need to evaluate that for yourself. Ideally, there'll be staff members that can help direct you, but that may not be an option. Do what you have to take care of your own safety.
So how long does a lockdown typically last, and how will we know when it's over?
Yeah, it's dependent on any situation. No situation is the same, and so we don't really know how long the lockdown is going to last. It just depends. Typically, lockdowns are a while. It'll be a very short period where there's a threat and that is dealt with, but then it takes a long time for us to actually release the lockdown. This school has a lot of doors, a long corridor. It takes a while for personnel to get there, unlock the door, and release the lockdown, but that's how it'll be. You'll have somebody personally visit your classroom or wherever you're remaining, and they will release you from that lockdown drill and give you further instructions.
Okay, cool. And then we heard in the presentation that there's a cell phone protocol that goes along with the lockdowns. And this does, I know, might be a little bit stressful for some because they want to like communicate. So do people like really have to follow this to a T, and how will that look?
Yeah, it's definitely a complicated system. The goal is to make sure you stay in connection with your loved ones as long as we can. One thing that unfortunately we've had a lot of demonstrations of are situations where cell towers die. They get bombarded with a lot of information and they crash. Our goal is to extend that as long as we can. If you can send a quick message to your loved one saying, I'm okay, I'm in a lockdown drill, I'll let you know in another 5 minutes, we can stretch that out and do that multiple times rather than everybody all at once doing that, and then we lose all that communication. So I know it's tough. I know you really want to be posting on social media, and they're long, so you're probably going to be wanting playing games, that kind of stuff. Follow the protocol as best you can. We want to make sure that as long as we can keep you in contact with those that you love.
No, I think that system sounds very helpful. So a lot of people have been asking questions about how we can like know what's happening, how much we will know, and especially about like why we are in a lockdown. So how will we learn that information, and how can we kind of like cope with the difficulty of not really knowing what's happening and the reason why?
Yeah, as a district, we try and give out as much communication as we can and as much information as we can. Obviously, we work with the police department and the first responders on what information they want us to release and what information they don't. So we're very limited sometimes in what we can say, but we'll tell you everything we can, and we'll try and keep updating both family, friends, the community, at least every 15 minutes, and more if more information comes forward. But we will try and make that goal of communicating as much information as we possibly can while still supporting our law enforcement partners.
Great, awesome. So what if I'm seeing something suspicious or threatening at our school? Like, what should we do if we see something like that?
You know, the saying is, see something, say something. That's really true. Our students are our first line of information. You guys know everything before the rest of us know. Come tell somebody. Tell a trusted adult. If you don't have anybody or you feel uncomfortable going personally to somebody, we do have a safety anonymous tip line. I'd love for students to use that. I monitor that, the district office monitors that, and we feed that information out as soon as we get it. So there's always a venue, even if you're uncomfortable talking one-on-one. Reach out to somebody, let us know. Our goal isn't to get kids in trouble with the information we learn, it's to make sure everybody is safe in our schools.
Awesome, thank you. So I know we're going to practice this in Anchor on Friday, but our teacher is going to be showing us where we need to hide in each of our classes beforehand. This could happen at any time, so just making sure we're all prepared. Yep. For sure,
yeah. Teachers, every classroom is different. There's no, this is exactly where you go in every single classroom. So the instruction to your teachers is to have those conversations with students beforehand. And I know we're kind of coming at this partly through the year, so if that instruction hasn't been given, ask your teacher, where do we go in a lockdown? Hopefully this drill gives them an opportunity to tell you that ahead of time. But again, if you don't know, ask the question, for sure.
Awesome, yeah, that sounds really good. So this is all a lot to think about, and it really is unfortunate that we live in the state of the world right now where we have to practice this kind of thing. But a big question is, how will we take care of our community after a lockdown drill or after an actual lockdown itself? So we've been hearing this question from a lot of people after the series of lockdowns that we did have a few years ago. And this Friday, after we practice the lockdown, the counseling office will be open for students who might want to talk to someone. We will also have a room open for students who might want to just be themselves. There'll be coloring pages, fidgets, puzzles, and more things like that to keep people occupied if they'd want to. And the same will be true if we have a real lockdown. If we're able to stay at school after, we'll have a space for students to decompress or get a snack, and if they want to, they can talk to someone We know it's really unsettling, and we will need to provide a way for our students and staff to get support they need before we can get back to learning. Teachers have also been reminded to think about what they're asking students to do after lockdown. Tests and presentations are definitely hard after something like this, so thank you a lot to all the teachers and staff for being aware of all these student needs and rescheduling these kinds of things.
So, C-Home, thank you so much for participating in this drill and taking it seriously. While we don't ever want to have to go through this, we're hopeful that practicing it so you know that what we do and what our procedure is will help take some stress off in the event that it does happen. We know that being prepared is important to everybody, and I appreciate everybody taking this seriously.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Russ. I think this has put a lot of ease in our minds, and it's been really helpful having this question panel, so thank you.
Thank you.
Now your teacher will walk you through the lockdown drill in your classroom to know where to go and what you have to do on Friday during the lockdown drill during Anchor. Thanks everyone for watching this. Hope it helped.